Welcome to Thursday, the 20th day of June, 2024. This Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Wyoming State Parks. Why wonder about the outdoors in Wyoming? Explore the statewide interactive outdoor recreation wonder map to find your next adventure. Well, our next adventure in the weather is going to be rebounding temperatures and some pretty good chances for showers and thunderstorms. Unfortunately for some folks yesterday, we had a scene like this in Laramie. A lot of tree branches came down. Some very strong southeast winds associated with that cold front brought some very heavy winds to parts of southeastern Wyoming, some extreme parts of northern Colorado as well. And when the leaves are on the trees, well, in the winter, you can handle those winds, but put leaves on those cottonwoods and you're going to have a problem, and just like what you saw there. The good news is that the wind speeds will be down considerably, as the trough of low pressure is still hanging around, but the mechanism that caused the strong winds has moved out. We are going to see return moisture come in behind the front. That's typical in the warm season. After a cold front, moisture naturally comes in behind it, and that's going to bring us an active next 2 days of increased thunderstorm activity. Hopefully it'll mean rain for your lawn, garden, or crops, or your pastures over the next few days, as there will be better chances of rain-producing showers and thunderstorms. With this will be rebounding temperatures. We've had a lot of weather this week. We've had snow, we've had cold, we've had wind. Now we'll have some active thunderstorm activity. Now we expect that the thunderstorms will be less common this weekend. The air is going to dry out a bit. There'll still be thunderstorms around, but the weekend activity will drop, and that will continue probably into Monday and Tuesday. But what you're going to see, and this is typical, as you mature deeper into the summer pattern, which, by the way, welcome to the first official day of summer. We tend to see the door open and close in the western part of the United States, the thunderstorm chances. The door opening and closing is this moisture that comes up from the southwest and having the right wind patterns aloft and at the surface to bring that moisture northward. Then you have the fronts come from the Pacific Northwest that kind of push out the moisture and bring in dry air. And you have this back and forth. And this back and forth is what we're going to see here over the next week and a half or so. Right now, we have the pattern looks very similar to the last couple of days. The high pressure and the very hot weather in the east. This is Alberto. It became a tropical storm, but is moving inland now and bringing very heavy rains to eastern Mexico. So it's not going to be able to maintain itself as a tropical storm. But we have this trough. So we have southwest flow aloft here. We have the moisture increasing into Mexico from here, and we have the very hot weather here and the cool weather that will still reside in the west. Temperatures are still, while warmer, are still going to be a bit behind average in some areas. When we look at the satellite imagery this morning, we can see we still have some remnants of the trough right here. So this is going to lead to some instability and moisture. Even overnight last night, we had some showers in Nebraska, Colorado, far northern New Mexico, and here's Alberto. You can see it coming in, and you can see the big thunderstorms developing. And as we have been showing you, this moisture was going to be, and is, heading westward. And then it's going to start to curve as it gets picked up in the flow later on. So for you folks in Arizona, New Mexico, the Four Corners area, southwest areas of Colorado, that deeper moisture going to be producing some good rain with some of the showers and thunderstorms, some heavy rain, and this is why. The precipitable water by noon today really increases. And if we were to just put the highs and the lows into place, you can see where they're working together to draw that moisture up and around. We call this, and we'll mention this several times during the summer season, we call this in the summer the ring of fire, the activity of showers and thunderstorms that rotate around the high pressure ridge. If you're under the high pressure ridge, you're going to be very dry and very warm, but on the edges, you're going to have the higher humidity in the showers and thunderstorms. So here's the deeper moisture coming in today, and this is where the thunderstorms are going to be later on this afternoon and into the evening. So you can see the Four Corners area right here. You can see along the Front Range, then out into the plains, along the I-90 and I-25 corridors of central Wyoming and northern areas of the state, and then into southeastern areas of Montana. So there's going to be, in that arch, in that deeper moisture, some risk for some stronger thunderstorms with a slight risk of severe. In the Panhandle, eastern Wyoming, stretching back here into the Four Corners area. So for the West Slope, Colorado, northwest New Mexico, northeast Arizona, you're finally going to get some better chances of showers and storms. And you can see there's not anything underneath that ridge right there. There's your ring. Tomorrow, that deep moisture is actually a little deeper. And that's because look at what's left of Alberta. Well, Alberta's now up here, what's left of it. So that deeper moisture is going to come on up, and there's the ring again. So the next 2 days are pretty close to being almost identical in terms of the setup. So the weather pattern basically repeats itself. There you go. Thunderstorm coverage, though, is deeper, better on both sides of the divide. Getting into the Wasatch of Utah, places like Grand Junction and Montrose, down into northwest areas around Gallup of New Mexico. Hopefully they'll get some rain over the fire area in south central New Mexico. At least certainly higher humidity air and cooler air will help there. But as we get into the weekend, the air mass dries out some, but not after another active day tomorrow. That slight risk shifts a little bit more to the north, but it's essentially the next 2 days, essentially the same weather pattern. Then as we get into the weekend, this is what we talked about the door closing. We have another wave go across western Canada, so the wind flow aloft comes into the northern Rockies more to the west. So what that does is essentially cuts off that deeper moisture flow and pushes it to the east and concentrates the deeper moisture, keeps it down here. So there's going to be more active thunderstorm activity down here and in New Mexico while the air dries out. This is why thunderstorm activity will drop over the weekend. So this is Saturday. So you can see this punch of drier air, and this gets fragmented. The moisture plume gets fragmented. And so the northern Rockies, the central and northern high plains, there's still enough moisture for thunderstorms, but they become much more spotty. And you can see the risk becomes more to a trend eastward into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. This is going to be headed cooling off the northeast United States and Great Lakes as we get into the weekend. You can see some severe weather there, but more general thunderstorms here. Notice the drier air punches on in. So this is the open and closing of the door, and we're going to go back and open the door again. By Wednesday, the high pressure ridge builds over Arizona. The flow, though, goes back up to the north. So this allows the clockwise circulation of the air to bring in the humidity and the moisture again. So we have this back and forth. A couple of days of thunderstorms, 2 or 3 days of just widely scattered thunderstorms. Then the thunderstorm activity picks up again, and there we go. There's the moisture back. That's going to be as we get on into the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe of next week. So those 2 days next week, thunderstorm coverage in the west, both sides of the divide will return. There's the really dry air that came in over the weekend and into Monday. And then you can see there's going to be a sharp frontal boundary coming on through there. That's going to bring cooler air back into the northeastern United States, and we don't have to hear about the heat anymore. Then as we get into Thursday of next week, look at that contrast. Drier air coming on in. That's going to be cooler air. And we have a warm, muggy, moist air mass here. And that's where the thunderstorm activity picks up again Wednesday and Thursday. So we're going to have some backs and forths. We're going to have backs and forths with temperatures as well. Now here's the door closing. So this is next Friday. The ridge gets beaten down by the next Pacific front. So the door closes by late next week and into next weekend before it probably opens up again during the 4th of July period. And that's the back and forth that you normally see during the summer. Really, the key to a summer forecast in this part of the world is what's going on here and where this high is and where the subtropical moisture is and where these frontal boundaries, the frequency and the intensity of these fronts, because these fronts, it's a little counterintuitive, actually make conditions drier by bringing a different air mass in, drying out the air, and not allowing that deeper subtropical moisture to come in. So that's where you get the back and forth. Let's take a look at moisture by next weekend. This is by next Saturday. So you can see that drier air punches in. So we have a couple of days of thunderstorms, and the pattern is going to repeat itself. Now let's look at temperatures. These are the temperature anomalies by later today. So you can see the coolness under Alberta there in the southwest United States and Mexico. We're still getting residual cool air across the northern plains, so temperatures will be a little bit below normal. There's the very warm temperatures here in the Great Lakes in the east. This is tomorrow. So the big heat that is going to be at its worst, you've been hearing about on the news, is really going to be coming tomorrow into this part of the country and Saturday. So you can see the heat going on through. Out west, we still kind of have a combination of it getting warmer, some cooler pockets, but basically just getting back to seasonal conditions. This is Sunday. Notice the cooler air in the Great Lakes here pushing south and east. So basically over the next 4 days, we'll have the heat continuing there, but look what happens by Monday and into next week. By Monday and into next week, it gets cooler. This is by next Friday. By next Friday, it's much colder than average in the Great Lakes in the Northeast, while we get hot out here in the West with that next warm ridge of high pressure building on in. So there's going to still be some backs and forth. It's not a permanent heat wave here, but it will go 3 or 4 days, but then they're going to get significant relief mid to late next week in the east while we warm up in the west. Have yourself a very good Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.